Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to kindly thank each one of you for joining us live from MAHSA University, Putra. I'm Bhavani Padmanathan from the Faculty of Health Sciences, MAHSA University, and I'll be moderating today's session. Today's webinar is hosted by the Faculty of Health Sciences, MAHSA University. The title of today's webinar is Aligning Technological Advancements in Prosthetics with Rehabilitation. Dear viewers, before we proceed further, I would like to give you a brief overview of the programs offered by the Faculty of Health Sciences at MAHSA University. Please give me a few seconds that I may share the slides with you. There we go. Dear viewers, welcome again to the Faculty of Health Sciences. And these are the programs that is offered by Faculty of Health Sciences. We've got the School of Physiotherapy, Department of Environmental Health, Department of Medical Imaging, and these are the programs offered by the different schools. We've got the Diploma in Physiotherapy, Bachelor of Physiotherapy, Bachelor of Physiotherapy, Open Distance Learning Program, and Masters of Physiotherapy. And by the Department of Environmental Health, we've got the Diploma in Environmental Health, Bachelor of Environmental Health, Health and Safety, Bachelor of Environmental Health and Safety, Open Distance Learning Programs, as well as Diploma in Occupational Safety and Health. And by the Department of Medical Imaging, we've got the Diploma in Medical Imaging, Bachelor of Medical Imaging, as well as Bachelor of Medical Imaging, Open Distance Learning. So then comes the question, why join health sciences? We've got a few reasons that you may want to consider. Low risk of job redundancy, because our jobs here cannot be automated. There's plenty of opportunity to work in a variety of settings. There's a career you can feel good about because you work with people. Yeah, there is a high job demand, and if you see the programs that is offered by the Faculty of Health Sciences, we're all essential service workers. The work routine is not boring, and it is a lucrative remuneration. Yeah. So we have here with us the Master of Physiotherapy program. It's either a 1 year program full time or a 2 year program, which is a part time. These are the entry requirements. Now, dear viewers, if you'd like to know further, please leave a comment on the chat box and we'll gladly get back to you. Or visit us at www.mahsa.edu.my. Over here, we've got the Bachelor of Physiotherapy, Bachelor of Physiotherapy Open and Distance Learning, Bachelor of Environmental Health and Safety, Bachelor of Environmental Health and Safety Open and Distance Learning, Bachelor of Medical Imaging, as well as Bachelor of Medical Imaging Open and Distance Learning. These are the entry requirements. Viewers, please feel free to leave a comment on the chat box and we'll be glad to get back to you with any inquiries that you would have. We have here the Diploma in Physiotherapy, Diploma in Environmental Health, and Diploma in Medical Imaging. These are the entry requirements for each one of the program. And yes, dear viewers, again, please leave a comment on the chat box and we'll gladly get back to you. This is quite a new program that we're offering at the Faculty of Health Sciences, Diploma in Occupational Safety and Health, which is a 3 year program. And this is the entry requirement. And yes, please do leave a comment and with your details. We will get back to you as soon as we can. So at MAHSA University, yeah, what we strive for is infinite excellence, and this is what MAHSA aspires to provide to each one of our graduates. Yeah. So why choose Faculty of Health Sciences at MAHSA University? So we'd like to go through a little bit on the teaching and learning environment that you may be experiencing when you come in. We've got an interactive teaching program, and we emphasize on hands-on clinical skills, and we use both the platforms, face-to-face as well as online platforms. We use the LMS. Yeah, we've got a wide list of hospitals and institutions for clinical as well as industrial placement. And as you would have seen earlier, a lot of all our programs are accredited by MQA as well as JPA with international recognition. And we've also got programs that offers dual award with the ARU, and we will take a look at it in a while. So at MAHSA, we've got a number of health disciplines within our institution, and therefore we cater for cross teaching by experts as well. We've got various study modes, both conventional, open, as well as distance learning. And if you see our lecturers over here, they are experienced as well as dedicated, and they come from a variety of international backgrounds. Yeah, these are our academic styles. Yeah. And more than besides our academics or academicians, we've got the MASA scholarships as well, and these are some of it. Haji Abdullah Academic Excellence Scholarship, we've got the Foundation Scholarship, the Blue Ribbon Scholarship, School Teachers Scholarship, Family Scholarship, the Single Parent Scholarship. So viewers, if you're interested and if you're keen, please do leave a comment on the chat box and we'll get back to you. Yeah, these are some of the collaborations and affiliations with different organizations that we have established. Right, we've got the World Confederation of Physiotherapy, the Malaysian Physiotherapy Association, the Anglia Ruskin University. This is a Japanese university, and we've got the Chiang Mai University in Thailand, and here we've got in India, lovely professional university. We've got the Shalimar Institute of Health Sciences. We also collaborate with the International Federation of Environmental Health, the Chartered Institute of Environmental Health, the Malaysian Association of Environmental Health. There, it's a little bit more clear. We've got the Malaysian Society of Radiographers, the Sriwijaya University of Indonesia, and Universitas Indonesia, Indonesia itself. We've got several mobility programs that these are the mobility programs with the different universities that we saw, that we've seen earlier. And this is, these are our own students over there. Um, yes, this is another mobility program that our students successfully has completed. So yes, viewers, we welcome you to join us at MAHSA University. Thank you. Yeah, and these are the different social media platform. We've got the www.facebook.com/fohs.masa if you would like to contact us. We are also on Insta. That would be www.instagram.com/fohs underscore masa slash, and we've also got Twitter accounts that you can easily contact us by twitter.com slash fohs underscore masa. Thank you, dear viewers, for listening in. Right, and let me just get back to you. There we go. Yes. Yes, dear viewers, please do feel free to contact us through the MASA website as well as our different social media platform, as well as the faculty page book to know more about our programs, or simply leave a comment and we'll get back to you. Your questions concerning this webinar session today will be listed you can list it on the chat box for discussion during the Q&A session later. Dear viewers, any certificate will be provided for this webinar, and to be eligible for this certificate, please fill in the survey form, and the link will be provided at the end of the seminar session. Now let us get back into today's webinar topic, right? And so according to World Health Organization, it is estimated that approximately 160,000 individuals would require prosthetics or orthotics in Malaysia. And of the many individuals that require prosthetics, lower limb amputation accounts for almost 84%, and for the upper limb amputation, it's about 16%. So, in this age of technological advancements, individuals that have lost a limb constantly seek for better quality of life, and this has spurred tremendous technological advancements in the field of prosthetics, and that's why we are here. So, the understanding of technological advancements in prosthesis would support and positively influence rehabilitation provisions provided to our amputee patients. And therefore, this webinar will focus on aspects of the current technologically available prosthetics and how these technological attributes would influence care provided by the physiotherapist. We've got a guest speaker here. Let me introduce you to our expert invited guest speaker for today, Mr. Louis Daniel Biermann.
Thank
Thank
you,
you, Mr.
Bhavani.
Biermann. Thank you for joining us. And I'll quickly introduce you to our viewers. Now, Mr. Louis Daniel Biermann is attached with the also Academy. He's a clinical and technical manager at the South East Asia Company, and he's tied in with the international distributors with the Europe and emerging market. A little bit about Mr. Biermann. Mr. Biermann is a certified prosthetist and orthotist with about over 20 years of experience. He's worked in South Africa, Saudi Arabia, as well as Malaysia. He currently trains and supports prosthetists in multiple countries within the APAC region, and APAC would be the Asia Pacific region, which typically includes the East Asia and South Asia. Now, he's been working as a clinical prosthetist in Malaysia for about last 8 years. Am I right, Mr. Bierman? 8 years, yes.
Good.
Yeah. And part of his job scope includes conducting workshops across the APAC region and is frequently invited as guest speaker at international conferences. And this also includes the recently conducted 21st Asia Pacific Orthopedic Association Congress 2021. And I think that was yesterday. So,
Yes.
yes, thank you, Mr. Bierman, for joining us. Now, yes, dear viewers, now before we invite or hear the discussion by Mr. Bierman, what we will do is we will just go in through the prevalence of amputee. Is that okay? Yeah, so let me just share. Let me just share my slides. That's our beautiful MAHSA University. If you haven't been here already, dear viewers, yes. So, yes, welcome back to the Aligning Technological Advancements in Prosthetics with Rehabilitation. So, we've got Sir Arthur Clarke, and he's actually a writer, a speculative science fiction writer, as well as a futurist. Now, what is interesting about him is that he's a co-author of a movie and called 2001: A Space Odyssey. And now, what is interesting about this movie is that it was written 50 years before its time. Now, what he has to say is that any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. So, viewers, let's see how the magic of today's prosthetic technology unfold in rehabilitation in today's webinar. So let's just take a look at what is prosthesis. Basically, prosthesis is an externally applied device, and it consists of a single component or an assembly of components used to replace wholly or in part an absent or deficient lower or upper limb segment. Now, this prosthesis comes in a combination of materials, alignment, design, construction to match the functional needs of the individual, and we'll be taking a look at some of the pictures in a while. Now, the prosthesis, we've got the upper limb as well as the lower limb prosthesis. Lower limb prosthesis looks into standing ability and walking ability, and part of the prosthesis we'll also have to understand the absorption, energy storage and return, cosmetic appearance, as well as the use of prosthesis in extraordinary function like athletic activities. In upper limb, the prosthesis, we're basically looking at everyday life activities, eating, writing, reach, grasp, as well as occupational challenges. So this gives us an idea of prosthetics tied into function. Now, prosthetics basically involves the use of artificial limb. In artificial limb, we use the word prosthesis, yes. And the prosthesis is basically to enhance the function and lifestyle of a person who's lost a limb. And this person, we name them as our amputee patient. So, how do these amputee patients, end up with an amputation? So, what is amputation? Now, amputation, as many of you would have already known, is the complete or partial removal of a limb or body appendage by surgical or traumatic means. A minor amputation is defined as occurring distal or to transmetatarsal joint, and a major amputation are those that occur proximal to the tarsometatarsal joint. Just a very, very brief definition. Now, let's go into history. Why history? Because I believe that we need to know where we have come from to understand and appreciate where we are going. So technology is we know technology starts and evolves. So let's see where it started. So this is in 950 BCs, yeah. So way back in the BCs, this is the earliest example of a prosthesis. So if you see over here, it's quite crude, and yeah, we will take a look at more advances, just basic pictures to have the understanding of how the technology has moved on from where it began. And in so if you see here in the 16th century, they actually came up with the first non-locking below knee prosthesis. And as crude as technology had begun, if you think about amputee, it started with what do you call this, wooden blocks. Yeah, so if you see here, yeah, in the 16th century, we've got the first unlocking below knee prosthesis, and this is a range of advancements in technology, in prosthetic technology. And here in 2009, we see bionic knees, and I think our speaker would be able to guide us further on how this advancement ties into rehab, and as a physiotherapist, what are the things that we need to look into. Now, before we go into further on prosthetics and its technology as well as rehab, let's just quickly go into the prevalence. Now, according to WHO, World Health Organization, of course, 0.5% of the population of a developing country have a disability that will require a prosthesis or orthosis that is related to rehabilitation service. Now, this prediction suggests that around 160,000 of Malaysians current population of 32 million need prosthetics or orthotics. The population is projected to reach about 38.5 million by 2040, and including approximately 200,000 individuals with physical disability. Yeah, so now based on the National Health and Morbidity Survey that they have reported, prevalence of diabetes among Malaysians are increasing. Now, what does this mean to us? Yeah. So this significantly, the numbers are significantly exceeding or increasing, and this prediction estimates that by 2025, people or individuals with diabetes in Malaysia would be about 11 to 14%. This is not very good, and if you can see the national survey, morbidity survey, there's an expected rise to about 20%. Here we are in 2021, so it's not a very comfortable figure that we see. Yeah, so this alarming trend may be associated with an increase in the prevalence of obesity as well as overweight in Malaysia, and we see that diabetes is a key risk factor leading to lower limb amputation and the loss of lower limb, right? And yeah, so then it comes to prosthetics, amputee patient and prosthesis. So this is where we come in as rehabilitation trainers, clinicians. Now, the World Health Organization estimates that about only 5 to 15% of persons with disabilities have access to assistive technology, especially in the low and middle income countries. Now, provision of high quality prosthesis or prosthetic services not only ensures the comfort and fit of a prosthesis, but it also helps to elevate the confidence and safety of a user. So when we go back to the history, looking at the crude prosthetics and looking at the bionic knees, it's not only about comfort and that it may be fashionable, but we are looking at the safety and function. This is what we need to take a look at. Yeah, so functioning prosthesis will improve the user's quality of life, satisfaction, education, as well as job opportunities, as well as social acceptance, really. Now, so again, a little bit about the provisions of prosthetics services in Malaysia. So it began in 1937 in Sungai Buloh Hospital. That was really way back, yeah. And in 1967 at the University Malaya, University Hospital, they established the orthotics as well as prosthetics services. And 2 years later, under the administration of the General Hospital Kuala Lumpur, they started the prosthetic department. And of course, we've come a long way from that, and we've got many other facilities that we can see out there. Now, let's take a look at cost. I mean, when we take a look at technology, it definitely ties in with a heavy cost. Yeah. So in Malaysia, considering the technology that is built into the prosthesis, the cost of a prosthetic limb could vary between 4,000 to 15,000 and upwards. So, as physios, when we are, rehabilitating patients and understanding the cost behind, it is quite scary when we want to manage them. But when we have the understanding of the technology that's going behind the prosthetics, we'll be a little bit more confident in dealing and handling both the technology as well as the functional training of our patients. Yeah. So we'd have to remember that each one of the prostheses is basically match the patient's ability. So yes, prosthesis, cost, technology, they all tie in together. Now, the provision of high quality functioning prosthesis, like what we said earlier, it ensures comfort fitting, increases the confidence of the patient walking indoors as well as outdoor, especially pertaining to the safety of the user, as well as their quality of life and satisfaction, job opportunities, and again, social acceptance. Yeah. So let's take a look at, who are the team members in the rehabilitation of the multidisciplinary amputation team. So you can see a whole lot of people over here. And right in the center, we have our patient. Yeah. So this will be the core. Yeah, our patient is our core, and we can see physiotherapists and many other professional working very closely together, as well as the prosthetist. Yeah, so hopefully in today's webinar would be able to tie in greater, yeah, the way we need to understand the technology, and we understand the aspects of a prosthetist as we work with our amputee patients. Yeah. So these are the phases of amputee rehabilitation. We've got a few here: pre-operative amputation, surgery, reconstruction, and then we've got the acute post-surgical phase, what we need to do: pre-prosthetic, prosthetic prescription, prosthetic training, community integration, vocational rehabilitation, and the follow-ups. And the follow-ups for these patients are lifelong. Yeah. So these are the phases. And of course, today we are not going to go in depth of the amputee rehabilitation. This is just to give us an idea of what are our roles and how we come into rehabilitation. So yes, dear viewers, technology and prosthetics. So when we take a look at technology, we can agree, looking at the history, it is robust and yet refined. So as physios, as we understand the intricacies of current prosthetics as well as the technology, as physiotherapists, we will be able to provide more effective, our rehab will be more effective, especially in amputee rehabilitation. Yeah, so we have over here Danielle Alvarez. She's a Miss Colombia to 2011, and she sustained she had to get an amputation done. And what she says is, whatever happens, never give up. And here we've got Oscar Pistorius, former South African sprinter, and he says, "You're not disabled by the disabilities you have. You are able by the abilities you have." So, viewers, let's see how we can help our amputee patients achieve their best potential by understanding what are the technologies out there and how we can work with them intricately. Yes, dear viewers, thank you. Thank you for that. And let me stop sharing. Right, I'll come back to the screen. Yes. And so we'll bring back, let's hear from our guest speaker, Mr. Biermann.
Thank you, Bhavani.
Yours, Mr.
Um, okay, so today we will take a look at the advances in lower extremity prosthesis as well as for upper extremity. Also, the donning and doffing of liners, a little bit about the mechanism behind the unlocking, functional unlocking of different knees, as well as suspension methods. So let me just share my screen. Oops, I didn't share my the sound just now. Let me just share the sound as well. Okay, sorry. Okay. Okay, so let's begin with the advances of lower limb bionics. So a prosthetic leg is no longer just a device with a passive foot or knee that has over the time evolved into an advanced technology to improve the lives of those who have lost a very important part of life, and aims at the restoration of independence as much as possible, as well as the offloading of the sound limb. So historically, technology has only been in part able to overcome the functional discrepancies between human and prosthetic limbs. Now, bionic technology is closing that gap, developing this powerful and unique technological platform and creating intelligent devices that are designed to behave like human limbs. This new generation of products function as integrated extensions of the user, advanced yet user-friendly. They make a vital contribution. So let's see what is the vision of advancement in prosthetic technology. So artificial intelligence is a vital part of science focusing on intelligent behavior, learning and adaptability of machines. Research in the field of artificial intelligence in prosthesis and orthosis as well is aimed at finding solutions that can be used to perform complex tasks related to human activity. So power motion. With an active power source, motorized prosthesis represent the first prosthetic solutions representing concentric muscle power. This is achieved using a DC motor actuator. So neurosensing is the implantation of electrodes connected to the nervous system, such as brain implants, and brain implants are the ultimate goal. The aim for this would be to recover voluntary neurological control and avoid excessive muscle contractions. Though at present this is still mostly in research, will certainly give users much more control over their device. So osseointegration, though not in entirely a new surgical intervention, it results in a structural and functional connection between the implant and the prosthetic leg. So technically not a futuristic concept anymore. It is still somewhat out of reach for most amputees. What could be very beneficial, though, is this technique can re-establish osseoperception as well as vastly improve the control over the prosthesis. So what is not only the future, but already is in the present, as it is already being used very successfully, is direct socket technology. With the latest advances in prosthetic bionic technology, one must not forget the physical connection between the user and the prosthesis. And this is where the socket and suspension plays a very important role. Whether using an entirely mechanical prosthetic system or the latest microprocessor knee, socket fit and suspension is still key. With the direct socket concept it comes as a complete kit and is used to improve to produce either laminated glass fiber or carbon fiber or even basalt sockets. And this can be made directly on the patient without any impression taken. Patient assessment and ordering of products at the first appointment results in whereby the next appointment, fabrication and delivery can be done in just one session. With the possibility of and expertise of the CPO that has experience with direct socket, the complete assembled prosthesis could be fitted to the user in around 2 hours. Ready for static and dynamic alignment by the CPO. This cuts down time significantly, so the focus could be on further training. So with the transtibial version, different available suspensions are options, together with the, different liners used for locking, passive vacuum, as well as elevated vacuum suspension. There's even a hybrid suspension of locking and vacuum that is also available, which we will be talking about later. The same goes for the transfemoral version, where locking suspension systems as well as passive vacuum and elevated vacuum are all options. So let's go back and have a closer look at what is currently available in terms of bionic technology to users. A new generation of bionic technology which adapts the prosthesis to the user with the latest in sensor technology, intelligence, and actuator technology. With the change in the physical terrain during ambulation, an environmental stimulus will be detected by built-in load cells, angle sensors, as well as kinematic sensors. The sophisticated sensor technology mimics the body's mechanoreceptors, providing artificial proprioception, a sense of where the limb is in space, by rapid and near instant tracking of factors that include load and angular displacement. So patented AI processes information from the sensors and instigate the most appropriate response for the next step. So then the AI transmits a constant stream of signals which instruct high precision actuator technology to act and deliver the optimal function. The goal of using this sophisticated technology is to reduce energy consumption, reduce the risk of trips and falls, improved stability and better balance, as well as decreased degeneration of the sound side limb. These are some of the lower extremity bionic solutions that are available, such as the ProprioFoot, which is the world's first intelligent foot module. It is an adaptive microprocessor controlled ankle for low to moderately active amputees. Motor-powered ankle motion increases toe clearance in swing phase by raising the forefoot, reducing the risk of trips and falls. It also changes the ankle angle and changing terrain, providing stable foot placement on stairs and inclined surfaces. So the Rio knees are microprocessor controlled knees that are designed to support patients from early rehabilitation to full recovery with its effortless, intuitive, and stable functionality. It builds on reliable and clinically proven technology, delivering outstanding user outcomes. And then we have the power knee, the only motor-powered knee joint that provides active motion and superior powered stance stability to replace lost muscle function. And this enables users to go further. By the use of a DC motor actuator and harmonic gear drive system, it offers users the ability to quite literally lift themselves to a higher level and ascend stairs and ramps. So in this next video clip, we can see the powered knee help the user to ascend stairs step over step, something not possible without great effort with other knees, since it is powered by a motor.
Ce que je vais faire, Louis, c'est que à monter les escaliers. Ce que je vais faire.
So lastly, these technologies are also very versatile. Not only are they able to be combined with other non-bionic feet and knees, but they can also be used in combination with each other This is possible when the rear knee is used together with the proprio foot, each bionic sensing, processing, and acting on its own, yet both complement each other in unison, and is best explained in this next video clip. So now we move on to the advances in upper limb bionics as well. So let's start off with a brief introduction to the iLimb Quantum Hand and its key features. As the new standard for myoelectric prosthetic hands, the iLimb Quantum with titanium reinforced fingers is a full hand solution that can change grips with a simple gesture. So gesture control is exactly what it says. It enables an automated grip to be accessed by moving the iLimb Quantum in one of 4 directions. And it's really just that simple. So it's either forwards, backwards, left, or right. Currently, there are a range of full hands as well as partial hand solutions to suit every individual's needs. So you can see on the screen on the left, there is the iLimb full hand solution, as well as the iDigits, which is a partial hand solution. So you can replace 1, 2, or even all 5 fingers. So as with any introduction, it is much easier if one can visualize it. So in this next video, the user tells her story and how it changed her life, receiving a full hand solution.
I lead a very active life. I particularly love parachute jumping and perfecting my jumping technique in the wind tunnel. I love to travel. I love just hanging out with my friends. Most of all, I enjoy living an independent life with 2 hands. My name is Claudia Breidbach, and I was born without my left forearm. I can prepare and eat my own breakfast with 2 hands. I can even cut my own meat. I can use both my hands at the same time and do not need my right hand to grip something with my left. These are all little things, but they have really impacted my life in a very positive way.
Das ist fantastisch und hat mein Leben so verändert.
For me, this isn't a prosthesis. It's simply my left hand. And that's all I ever wanted. It's a wonderful feeling to be able to lead a fulfilling life with 2 hands. It's awesome, actually. As a child, every night I prayed to God that He would send me another hand. And every morning I woke up just the same. But for the last 4 years, I'm finally living the active life I've always wanted to live, a life with 2 hands. And now I can thank God for listening to my prayer.
So I hope that helped you to visualize it much better. What is a full hand all about? Similarly, it's also going to be easier to understand what the partial hand solution is. It's very similar, except that, of course, it's not a full hand. So in this next video clip is also a user explaining, how it has changed his life.
My name is Moises Aramburo. I am 24 years old, and I work in real estate development. Since my accident, you learn to appreciate what you do have. I do things that normally I wouldn't have even done, even though I could have before my accident. One of them is, playing golf, as simple as it sounds. Another one is taking dance lessons. I was always, super shy to take dance lessons. But, now that I have my hand, I have the second opportunity to do so many things that I thought I wasn't going to be able to do again. So why don't I go and do that, Because you learn to appreciate that you're fully capable again. There's a lot of misconceptions of, you see someone with a disability and in a way you admire them for being resilient and you think I could never be as strong as them, but no one's really ever forced to be strong and resilient until they are forced with a situation. The only right way to approach this is to keep going and know that just your physical body doesn't represent who you are as a person. To anyone who is going through this, there's always a bright future ahead.
So the user profile enables for eye limb and eye digits to be used in far more levels of amputation than possible before. So from as proximal as a shoulder amputation to distal amputations of the hand, as well as complete fingers. There are far more ideal candidates that can benefit greatly from the use of ILM hand and its practical control methods and its grips as well for everyday use. So as you can see, for transradial, bilateral users, transhumorals, as well as shoulder disarticulation users. So here we can see some examples of patient presentations that are considered suitable for iDigits. Looking at each individually, they all fit into the user profile. Proximal to the metacarpophalangeal joints and distal to the wrist. When considering patients with remaining fingers, you would look at how the fingers move. It may be that if the amputation is a result of trauma, the remaining fingers might not function as normally. So you really need to take a look at the remaining fingers as well if you're going to prescribe a partial hand prosthesis, especially something like iDigits. But as you can see, all of these are appropriate for iDigits. So ILM Quantum as well as ILM Digits have similar features, which are they have individually motorized articulating digits, electronically rotating thumb, speed and strength boost of up to 30%, and up to 36 different grip options. 4 control methods, which the first is the gesture control like we were talking about earlier, as well as app control, which is on your Apple device. Muscle control triggers using the MAHSA signals for open and closing, or the extensor and flexor groups, as well as proximity grip, which is using grip chips. Biosim software are used for all of the hands. Titanium strengthened fingers are also available for sizes small, medium, and large. And it also has an increased carry load of 50% carry load with these titanium reinforced fingers. So basic hand functions. Like I said, individually articulating digits. Now, this does not mean that you can play a piano, but it simply means that the fingers can be programmed into a useful grip. It also has stall ability, needing when you needed to change a grip on the go. So that just means I can hold a finger, close the hand. If I wanted index point, I can just stall that one finger out. Comfortable grip that allows to grip any conformable grip that can hold any shape object. If, for instance, I wanted to hold an apple, the hand will then conform around the apple or the glass, the cup, any object, any shape object that I hold. Thumb rotation, which can be either powered as with the Quantum, or manual for other versions. It also has speed boost, like I said, up to 30% faster than the previous models. Proportionate control, meaning the strength or the amount of input signal that I give from my muscle input, the myo signals, is then proportionately related to the speed that the hand opens and closes. So I can open it really slowly, or I can open it or close it really fast. Very grip. Also, when I needed a firmer grip, you just continue closing and then the hand will grip more if you needed a better grip. It has a much more natural appearance, and it also has auto grasp whenever that you are holding a very slippery object like a glass and it starts slipping. So, like I said, there are 24 standard automated grips already preloaded in the hand, and then there's an option for 12 custom-made grips that you can either program yourself, the user can program, or they can download it from the site. Power thumb rotation, abduction, adduction automatically positions the thumb in the optimal alignment for the desired grip and function. So user benefits, it increases precision within tasks, allows for a much more natural approach to daily activities, and also reduces compensatory movements, as you would see usually with other mechanical systems where you need to use your shoulder as well. So user benefits with automated grips. Okay, we already went through that. Sorry. Okay, now let's take a look and focus on the iLM Quantum full hand and its control options. So there are 4 control options for Quantum, which are gesture control, muscle control, app control, proximity control using grip chips. So with the use of BioSim, which is the CPO version of the app, or the My iLM, which is for the patient, you can quickly select grips. Devices that you can use are iPad, iPhone, iPod, or Apple iWatch using Bluetooth. So EMG signals, if you look at muscle control, EMG signals on the myocytes triggers and can be used to access some of the grips using signals from the residual limb, flexors and extensor muscles. So flexors are generally used for closing. So if I flexed my wrist, that is a closing signal, or an extensor muscles are used for open. But when using the control method called muscle control, the extensors or open signals are usually used. These muscle signals are hold open, so I can use hold open. But for Quantum, usually we allocate that for another task, or co-contraction. So you can also co-contract to go into a grip. So that co-contraction is just a contraction of both of the muscle groups at the same time. Double open impulse, you can allocate one or program one grip to that, or a triple open impulse. So it's a very quick movement. Open, open, open. Each trigger is then pre-programmed with one grip by the user. So it's a very quick, easy way also for them to access a grip. Next is proximity control by users using grip chips. And these grip chips are pre-programmed with one grip or a favorite group of grips as chosen by the user. The user only has to give a hold open signal and then relax the muscles, and then the chip will wake up and it will then enter the desired grip. So these chips can be placed at work, near your laptop, for instance, if you wanted to type, or in the kitchen if you're going to be cooking or cutting tomatoes, for instance. So gesture control. Let's just take a look at this next video clip that will demonstrate how it is used. So you can see that it was just one grip, and it was used for, she was using it to clean the windows. So the next is gesture control, and this is really what makes it possible to use the much easier to use the prosthetic hand, using only inputs from the affected side without needing to do anything with the sound side, using simple gestures such as forward, backward, left, or right to choose desired grips that are pre-programmed for each direction. So there's no need for any additional muscle learning or accessories, and this is the easiest way to access grips. With many grips to choose from and to allocate one in each of the 4 directions, makes it much easier and for a multitude of tasks. So each So this simplifies the use of the hand without any extra learning. So accessing the grips using gesture control, you only have to give a hold open signal with the arm in a horizontal position. So it needs to be horizontally held with the ground. And then you just wait for the index to flick, and you'll see it later in the video clip. You'll see that the index finger will flick. That is the indication for you then to move forwards, backwards, left or right, and then the hand will enter that grip. It's very difficult to see in the video clip, but it's a very, very quick little flick. And you do not have to do an excessive movement. It is just a very, very slight movement. So you can see that she's going to open, all the fingers are going to open, and then you see that flick and she just moved back. And then she accesses a grip, which is lateral grip with the thumb. She opens again, flick, go to the left. Okay. She opens again, all the fingers will open first, and then the index finger just flicks. So very, very simple and easy to use. So in conclusion, basic functions for most of the daily tasks and end user needs. Accessing automated grips should be easy and quick to learn with low physical and mental fatigue. And this was always the problem in the past, and especially also with a lot of the more mechanical systems. It is quite exhausting and mentally tiring. The focus will be on completing tasks rather than controlling the prosthesis. All this will improve the user to make use of a multiple grips within the user's daily lives. The ILM hand comes in three different versions. Three different versions: the Quantum, Ultra, and Access. And basically, the Quantum is the top spec version of the ILM hand, and also for the iDigits. Quantum is available with all the control methods, and the other models have limitations on the different types of control, so they are a bit more basic. Okay, and that concludes the upper extremity bionics then. Now we shall move on to donning and doffing of liners. So when with the introduction of the silicone liner, which was back in 1971, with the Icelandic roll-on silicone socket, or ISROS for short, and this has changed and opened up many more possibilities. So what is a liner exactly? A liner is made from a durable, high-grade silicone and is an interface to protect underlying structures of the residual limb from the hard socket inner surface, but it's also used as a point of connection between the residual limb and the prosthetic socket. It is rolled onto the stump and is held in place by the silicone adhering to the skin and thus creating a passive vacuum so that it will not slip off. This in turn creates a very good suspension inside the socket onto which more components can be attached, such as the foot, knee, and many more. So it also stabilizes the soft tissue within the liner. So if there's a lot of extra residual soft tissue, it helps to stabilize that soft tissue. And this also makes it much easier for the prosthetist then to take a cast of the residual limb without all this soft tissue moving around. And it also reduces pistoning within the socket. So how to don and doff a liner. It is of great importance that the liner is donned and doffed in the correct way. Since if this is not done, there are a multitude of problems that could arise. Similarly, if the liner size is not correct or the socket fit is no longer adequate, it could also give rise to a number of problems. But let's focus on how to don and doff a liner first. So when donning a liner, turn the liner inside out and grip it as shown in the illustration. This will help to position the liner over the end of the stump and prevent an air pocket being trapped, which could also cause friction or excess sweat to pool and potentially cause skin problems. And like I always tell users is that if there's air, where there's air, there could be a fire. So if there's friction, you don't want the friction. Make sure that there's no air trapped in between the stump and the liner. So this method will pull soft tissues around the cut end of the bone, as well as it will result in an intimate fit on the stump. When the liner is worn correctly, it will also make it easier to enter the stump into the socket. So a lot of times, if the liner is not done properly, there could be the pin might be pointing in the wrong direction. It will not enter and it will not lock inside the socket. And if there's an air bubble, it also means that the stump will seem like it is longer and it does not all fit inside the socket. Makes the socket seem like it's not fitting properly anymore. So if you don it properly, there should not be any problem. And this should be done from casting and carried all the way through. We have to teach the user and everybody else that is going to help the user. So position it against the residual limb, and then with a light compression, roll upward onto the limb. So you must always make sure just to use your fingers, the soft parts of your fingers. Do not use any nails. Do not stretch it. Never ever pull or stretch it towards the end, because this will not just damage the liner, but then you will also create there's a shear force that will be created at the top of the liner, where the liner has been pulled, sticks to the skin, and then it will actually irritate the skin on that area where the liner ends. So this will ensure that the liner also lasts much longer and that the skin will not be pulled at the top edge, like I said, and resulting in good comfort and protection of the skin, since the silicone will then adhere to the skin as well. After the liner has been rolled onto the stump, it is ready to wear the prosthesis. And if the liner and the socket fit snugly, there will be good control when walking with the prosthesis. Similar to donning, when you doff the liner, taking it off, always remove the liner by rolling it down your leg. This should be done gently by simply rolling the liner over itself. This is made easier by the fabric outer cover. So earlier versions of the liners, and there are still some that are available without any fabric cover on the outside, they do tend to stick a little bit. But we have other technologies also that prevents that tackiness on the outside of the liner for those liners that do not have a fabric outer cover. So like I said, again, never ever use any nails. Okay, so stump hygiene is of course also very, very important. And this unfortunately is something that you really need to take a look at as a physio as well. When you see your amputee every day, do they actually perform proper stump hygiene? And a lot of cases they do not. So wash daily with a mild soap with a pH of less than 7. Moisturize after washing and prevent dryness. Because it's that dryness, if you don't wash it immediately after removing a liner, they will feel itchiness because the skin is still getting used to all the wearing a liner as well. And then crystals will form, salt crystals. So it's basically like rubbing salt into a wound when the sweat dries on the skin. So always make sure that they wash it after wearing. Moisturize only in the evenings. Do not apply any moisturizer before wearing the liner, as this would cause the liner to slip on the skin. Also be careful when any product when there's any product that has been put on the skin that could cause any irritation after donning the liner, because it will be trapped in between the liner and the skin. So if there's any chemicals, for instance, alcohol hand rub was used, or the and that gets trapped in between the liner and the skin, it could definitely irritate the skin. So right after donning the liner, make sure it is turned completely inside out. The silicone must be on the outside of the liner. So this also needs to be washed. Again, if I'm wearing, I need to wash my underwear, a liner should be seen the same way. You need to wash it daily. Hand wash with warm water. So use, again, a soap of less than, with a pH less than 7. Oh, excuse me. Wash the inner silicone surface that is in contact with the skin. Try not to wash the outside of the liner. Only wash the fabric outer when it is soiled. Generally, it does not need to be washed. Rinse off all the soap, because some soaps could still irritate the skin as well. And make sure that there's no residue left before wearing the liner later on. Dry the liner on the inside and outside with a dry cloth, and you could also use a lint-free cloth, because the silicone is tacky after washing. You need to remove all the oils, skin oils and sweat and hair, possible leg hair that is also trapped and stuck to the liner. So then again, turn it back. So silicone on the inside. You must never ever leave the liner inside out. So if it is left inside out for instance, overnight, the user just left it next to their bed and they left it inside out, this will definitely damage any liner, because the molecules are being stretched in a way that they're not intended to do over long periods of time. It's only during donning and doffing. So then you hang it on a rack, on a dry rack in the shade. Never ever put it in sunlight, and never ever put it in a dryer or washing machine either. It should never be done. So in this next short video, we can see how to don a liner on a socket. Now this is a hybrid system, the liner as well, but in general, this is the same technique that is used. Okay, so we'll just pick the pace up a little bit after this so that we don't keep everybody too long. So this is just an overview of some of the mechanical knees, but we'll only be taking a look at some of them, those most commonly used. So yeah, some of the news of the knees. Firstly, you might recognize these single axis knees or monocentric knees. This is a very, very basic knee. It's basically just a hinge. Whenever you see any knee that has a line or a string attached like this is a locking knee, manually locking knee. So this has also got the option of locking, and there are also some of the polycentric knees that has similar features as well, where it can then also be used as a more it can be used as free, or it can be used manual locking knee as well. So these are the polycentric knees. On the left, we have a 4-bar pneumatic knee with gravitational lock. And on the other side, we have a 7-bar hydraulic knee with gravitational lock as well. So this knee has different features. They have quite different features to each other. But the way that they work is that you need to load the forefoot or the toe whenever you want to unlock them. So this is the same during gait. The knee will only unlock when the toe is loaded during the gait, and also when you want to sit, you need to shift a little bit of weight. You shouldn't be fully loaded because the gravitational lock will not disengage. So you need to shift some of the weight to the sound side and then just load the forefoot a little bit. This then will disengage the lock. The knee will start bending, and you still need to use the sound limb to sit back into a chair. And then, of course, we have our bionic microprocessor knee, which is also a single, basically a monocentric knee, but it has a magnetological fluid on the inside. And then it has automatic stumble recovery. It automatically recognizes when the user is going to sit as well. So you don't need to think so much. It makes it much easier for the user to sit. There is a link that I've sent earlier as well that I think is posted already, that you can take a look at on YouTube yourself, how to sit down with this knee. So then again, also alignment is quite important for monocentric and polycentric knees. Both of them have different centers, knee axis centers, and it also depends on how the prosthesis is aligned to make it either more dynamic or unstable, which is more dynamic, or very, very stable, or very safe. It depends on the user, what they need at that point of time. But if they become more active, then they will need a more dynamic alignment. If it is too safe, it can also lead to the user finding it very difficult to sit down. I'm not going to play this next video clip. You can also view this on the links that I sent earlier. This is just showing how we don't have enough time. Okay. And I've already covered this as well, because we're going to look at this in the YouTube clip. This is just the bionic knee. There's also some links there for that. Okay, so suspension methods in prosthetics. Throughout history, since the first peg leg has been made, there has been a lot of solutions to try and improve the methods of suspension. So suspension was and still is achieved through many different ways. Here are some examples of suspension methods that are used in transtibial prosthesis, such as cuff suspension, anatomical suspension, thigh corset, and waist belt. But we're not going to talk about that more today. And here for the transfemoral, also the most widely used, still commonly used, Salesian belts, On the left, in the middle there is a hip joint with a pelvic band, or skin suction, which does not use a liner, but is the socket is adhering directly onto the skin. This, however, needs a very, very stable stump. So the liner portfolio contains a large amount of liners for upper extremity, transtibial liners, junior liners, post-op liners, direct casting liners, but we'll only be talking about the transfemoral and transtibial liners. So it is, at its most basic, there are 4 suspension methods for liners. Liners with a pin lock or a cord lock, which is called locking liners. Passive vacuum or liner plus a sleeve and a valve. So you need a sleeve as well to create a vacuum around the socket and the thigh. Then there's passive vacuum with seal in, as well as elevated vacuum with Unity, which is a pump that is located inside the foot for elevated vacuum. And then we also have hybrid suspension, which is locking as well as passive vacuum, or also with the option of elevated vacuum. So these are a few of the examples of what locking liners look like. They have an attachment distally where the pin is screwed in and then connects to a lock that is inside the socket, anchored inside that the pin anchors into, providing a very stable suspension. So a lot of times users do like that sound. They know that the pin has engaged inside the socket. They feel safe. So when using a cushion liner, it needs to be used in conjunction with a sleeve. So you have your liner. You see that there's no distal attachment. It's just a liner with a fabric on the outside. And this is used usually for passive vacuum. And then we have our seal-in liners that are the solution of a sleeveless suspension method. It is similar to the cushion liners in profile, but it has a seal on the outside. The seal creates an airtight seal against the inner surface of the prosthetic socket and does not need any sleeve, and can be used with either passive or active vacuum. And we have our fixed seal liners, which has a seal that is fixed in one position. And then we also have movable seal liners with different seals. And of course, Unity can be added. Then you have elevated vacuum. And this is just, the different components from Unity vacuum. The vacuum is you have your foot, you have the pump that's located inside the foot cover. You have a valve that is located on the socket, and then you have your seal-in liner, of course, as well. And this all enters into the socket. And yes, volume stabilization is very, very, it optimizes socket stability and proprioception and creates a very comfortable wear during the day without needing to add any socks. So the stump will be more stable as well. Increased reliability minimizes the risk of leaks and punctures, and also integrates with a performance foot. Okay, so hybrid suspension, like I said earlier, this is using seal-in, so it's exactly the same like the seal-in liners, but it also has a pin lock. And this is, a lot of times low active users do like to know that they've got the security of a pin locking liner, but it's used for all activity levels where you want that security of the pin lock, but you have the advantages of having a seal-in liner. So this just concludes what I've about the Seal-in X locking liner. To conclude, the ISRO Seal-in X locking liner is a solution for transtibial amputees, developed for locking liner users, and can also be used together with a Unity. And this brings us to the end of this course. Thank you very much, and I think we will go on to the Q&A session now.
Thank you, Mr. Biermann, for an insightful presentation. Dear viewers, if you have any questions for our speaker, you can start leaving your comment or your questions on the chat box. And yes, thank you, Mr. Biermann, for helping us tie in how technology, especially in prosthetics, and the things that we need to consider when it comes to training. Like for the eye limb, you were talking about certain gestures that we need to train them for certain grips, yes, as well as the mechanism that is built into the different type of knees and the components, where you'll have to do the loading of the ankle, as you were saying, to unlock the knee to allow the patients to do standing activities. Yeah, so I think it comes back to the type of components of lower limb prosthetics or upper limb, what type of gestures to facilitate what type of grips. Now, thank you so much. So since we've gone on to the Q&A session, shall we take the first question? We have here Mr. Arun. Yeah, hi, Mr. Biermann. It's an excellent topic, wonderful presentation. Thank you, Mr. Arun. And the question reads: how are we going to manage the financial challenges of patient when he or she may not be able to afford, the different type of myoelectric prosthesis?
Yes, thank you, Bhavani. Yeah, Mr. Arun.
Question from
This
Mr.
is,
Arun. Yeah.
like I said, yes. Yes, this is a very good question. A lot of times that they cannot afford this. And unfortunately, this is all too often the reality in Malaysia, that a lot of these advanced bionics are just out of reach. But there are different, that is why we have different versions as well. There is also an Access, which is a less expensive version of the iLim. And this is also the same for the iDigits. Yes, if they can't afford it, then they have to look at other mechanical mechanical hands. But wherever that a user can are able to afford this, and I've seen this in other countries where users have been, they opt for the Access. It is quite functional still. It might not have all the different features the same as the Quantum, obviously, but it is still a very, very functional hand. And this is true for both upper and lower extremity, actually.
So there are different options. Thank you.
Yes.
Shall we go on to the second question? Right. So we have Miss Banubadi. She reads, yeah, hello, Mr. Biermann. It's a great topic of interest. A good presentation with good videos. Thank you, Miss Banu. Now, the question is, what is your advice on stump shaping techniques? Which is better, bandaging or applying silicone sleeves?
Okay. Again, it is to do with the cost and what is available in most of the hospitals. And yes, most of the amputations are in government hospitals. So generally, there's bandages that are supplied to the users. The problem, though, with bandaging is that it is not always consistent. You, as the physio, might be teaching your amputee the proper technique of applying the bandage every day, but then the nurse also needs to be able to help the user. The family also needs to help them, because a lot of times maybe they are not able to do it themselves yet, but as they progress, they are able to do it. The problem is it's not consistent, and bandages really can undo everything that you've done before. It can actually if you apply it too tightly proximal, it can actually choke the stump, and then there will be more edema, and then the socket fit is going to be delayed. So there are other options better than bandaging, but I understand the issues that is at hand.
Plus,
And this is that you have stump shrinkers,
right.
which is more consistent. Doesn't matter who is putting it on.
Yeah.
But the best is still the liners. And actually the liners, the post-op liners, again, doesn't matter, irrespective of who is putting it on. It's the same every time. It's
I
much
suppose it's the
simpler also to
consistency
apply.
that you're looking at. Yes, Mr. Biermann?
Consistency,
Yeah, the
exactly,
consistency.
consistency. And of
Thank you.
course, the liners are used together in a post-op solution. So there's a rigid dressing, then you have your liners, and then you can actually fit about 4 weeks or a month. You can actually already fit your final socket.
Final thought. All right. Okay. So shall we take the next question then? Yes, we've got a question from Mr. Nelson. A great topic, Ms. Bhavani and Mr. Biermann. Thank you, Mr. Nelson. Can you please explain briefly about pre-prosthetic rehabilitation and its importance in the preparation for using prosthetic device?
So yeah, the this is also a very important topic, but from a prosthetist's perspective,
Yeah,
stump preparation is definitely uh, very, very important as well as desensitization. And this is where the physio really helps us a lot because if the stump has not been desensitized, it makes it very, very difficult to fit the socket because the user will always they will experience a lot of pain as well, and the stump is very sensitive. So also muscle strengthening as well as balance is, but the I would say the more very, very important part also is the sound side, looking at the sound side strengthening. Because if the sound limb has stronger also, it will help the user to be able to start with gait training much
right,
easier and much faster as well. And they will also be a lot more safer as well.
right,
So the pre-prosthetic amputee assessment is also then very, very important. So if you've done all this preparation before the time, already by the time that they need to be assessed, then we can set the goals with the rehab specialist as well. And this is where we're going to then look at the components. Otherwise, we might give them components that are not quite suitable for them. We need to see what is the goal for this patient, the goal
right.
settings.
Okay. I think we've got one last question. Can we take the last question? Right. This is from Mr. Suving. Good information. Thank you, Mr. Suving. His question reads, what is post-prosthetic fitting rehabilitation and what are the areas that needs to be focused on by physios to improve patient outcome?
Okay. I would, again, from a prosthetist perspective, communication between the CPO and the therapist, I think, is really important, and this is not always happening at the moment because most of the companies in Malaysia are private companies. So whenever they attend clinics, they are on uh, a lot of times maybe the therapist is not present there, and this actually shouldn't be happening. So it's a lot of communication is between the CPO, the prosthetist, as well as the rehab specialist. I've worked here before as well, and this is where we always maybe there's some breakdown in communication also because the physio is very important. They need to observe what are the issues and the problems as well, and then let us know because then we can try to rectify it. A lot of times it could just simply be because of alignment. It's a simple alignment thing.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, also a better understanding of the different types of prosthesis. Now I know this was a lot of topics to share today, and I cannot really go into detail,
Yeah.
but understanding of the knee, the foot, the components, limitations, what they
Yes.
were designed for.
Right.
If we just give it to the user and the physio doesn't understand this, then this it's also not going to have the optimal outcome for the
Effect
patient.
or yeah on the patient's
Exactly.
outcome. Thank you, Mr. Biermann. And so we've come to the end of today's session. And dear viewers, as mentioned in the beginning of this webinar, e-certificate will be provided, and to be eligible for the certificate, you would need to fill in the survey form that can be found on the link provided on the comment section. So, viewers, I hope Sir Arthur Clarke's thoughts on technology has deemed true that today's webinar has successfully weaved the finesse of prosthetic technology and rehabilitation, and that this would help inspire you to create a magically fulfilling and worthwhile experience for your amputee patients. With that, dear viewers, we conclude today's webinar. To our dear speaker, thank you again for sharing your valuable time and knowledge with us. To our keen and attentive viewers, thank you for joining our webinar, and we look forward to your comments and participation in our future events hosted by MAHSA University. For further queries, please do contact us through the MAHSA website or visit our social media. Stay safe, make sure you get your vaccine, and have a pleasant day. Thank you.